Good morning, friends. Uh, till yesterday, we have go through about introduction to computer subjects about the programming, what the different generation of the programming. We have seen about the operating systems, and we have seen about the input output devices, and we have seen about the memory, about the and some computer components. So till yesterday we have seen about the till even yesterday we have seen about the programming, different generation from first generation, second, third, fourth, and we have seen yesterday also when the programming has started in 1950 when the first generation language has been came into the market. And while writing any program, while writing any code or any kind of making any software, we required some logic, we required designing pattern. We so there is a process to make any software, which is called basically software development life cycle. So software development life cycle is a kind of cycle which come into the software engineering, and it will give you a blueprint of how to make any kind of entire software. So starting with the so when any company got a requirement, so starting with the understanding the requirement of the organization, just like any XYZ company has come ask to any organization to make a software for their finance or their sales or some manufacturing. So basically they will give the organization to the requirement that I need a software which basically calculate my help me on accounts. They will automatically generate the payments to their vendors and automatically create the payment slips, automatically give the salary to their employee. So these kind of software suppose a company required. So for that software, company give their requirement to the to vendors. I mean to say vendor in the sense who are going to create the software. After that, when you got the requirement, obviously you need a designing. So there is some software engineers, they will put down their head over there and they will make some designing pattern. They will make a blueprint, a kind of a stuff, so that they can start designing. They will do analysis on that. When the requirement will come, obviously they require some analysis will go on, and after the analysis then they will go for it will go to another team. See, there is a different team in each and every organization for analysis, requirement analysis. Then we have a development team, then we have a testing team. So after analysis, it will directly go to the development teams, where whatever the analysis has been done, so developer will start developing on the requirement, that particular software. After development, it will go to the testing. So initially testing has been done by the developer itself, and after that it will go to the testing team, where the dedicated tester are there. They will test the I can say the software, and after when each and everything they found that as per the requirement is perfect, it will go to the user end. I mean to say the company who has asked to make this kind of software. So over there it will go to them, and then company will do the testing, which is called user acceptance testing. So they will do the UAT, which is called user acceptance testing, and on the basis of that they will agree that whatever the requirement they have given, on the basis of that the company has created the software. So this is a kind of overall, I have given you the picture of SDLC, which is called software development life cycle. In this life cycle, one of the important phase which is called development. In the development, the programmer or developer, whatever you can say that, in the developer or programmer, whatever you can say that, have their programming logic and design. They have a design, they have designing pattern, they will design, they will make a logic on that, and after that it will go there is different kind of logic. Suppose some mathematical logic in which they need to calculate the salary on the monthly. It's like a company want employment salary, so they need to calculate the salary on the basis of how many days employees has come into the office. Just like there is a 20 or 25 working days in a month, so how many days employee has come to the office? Suppose out of 25 employee has come only 15 days into the office, so employee will opt only 15 days salary. So for that they require some calculation. So these kind of calculation has been done by with the help using some mathematical logic. So these logical come under this. And designing, as I told you, when you got the requirement, on the basis of that company are going to redesign. So we are going to check about the logic and designing in this chapter. So main objective: understand computer components and operations, describe the steps involved in the programming process, describe the data hierarchy, understand how they use flowchart symbols. Some flowchart is there because without flowchart you cannot understand the designing and all. Symbols and pseudocode statements. See, when you're doing the analysis, obviously you need to write some pseudocode. So pseudocode statements and use of name and variables, whatever the variables we are using in the programming, how the data is declared in the programming, each and everything we are going to check over here. So this is a kind of objective synopsis I have written over here, and on the basis of this objective we are going to learn each and everything over here. So objective continue: use a sentinel, a dummy value end of a program, use a connector symbol, how to connect, assign values to a variable. So I mean to say, in the mathematical terms, if I want to assign suppose some numbers to some particular variables, how to assign those are things. Recognize the proper format of assignment statement. So proper format of any assignment statement. Then we have a describe data types, different kind of data types available in the market, like from character, just like in the system, like character, we have float data type, we have character, integer. So different data types we'll see over there. Understand the evolution of a programming technique, how it is evolved from 1950s to till now. So what the database they have using those days, what the variables they are using those days, and how it is evolution till now. So understand the computer components and operations. So what are the operations? There will be hardware and software. The two major components of a computer system, we know that these are the two major components, hardware and software. Hardware is like your keyboard, mouse, monitor, CPU. Those are the hardware, and software, which is basically installed in a system, like your operating system, your application softwares. Those are the softwares available in the market, which is basically a software. The hardware is equipment or devices, and software programs that contain some instructions for the computer. So basically we providing some instructions, we need some instruction because computer cannot understand human language, so they require their own language. So that's why we are doing the programming to instruct the computer to follow whatever we want. So some major operation in the computer, we have an input, operator, processing, output, and storage. So these four major operations: input, processing, output, and storage. Understanding computer components and operations. So input devices allow data to enter the computer. It is allowing data. So input device, with the help of that, you are basically, we have seen that it is allowing to allow data to enter into the computer, just like mouse, keyboard, and scanner. Then processing, working on the data, such as organizing data, checking data for accuracy, mathematical or other manipulation on data. So this is the processing. Central processing unit, we know that about that, it's called CPU, hardware that performs some task over there. So this is a kind of central processing unit, which we have seen that CPU and processing and the input devices. These are some I can say components of the hardware side. Then we have some output devices like your printer, monitor, and speakers. We have seen this, so I'm not stressing much on input and output devices. Basically, we need to focus on programming language and their designing and flowchart and all those stuff. So special language containing instruction for the computer, like there's some special instructions have been given for each and every languages in the system. So each and every language has their different syntax, there's different way of writing a code, and there is different logic we need to use, because whatever the instructions I can give in the Java cannot be used in the .NET, because the syntax and the way of writing of the program is entirely different. Visual Basic, Java, C#, it is called C#, C++, and COBOL. Syntax, the rules governing word uses and punctuation in the language. So this is syntax is nothing but a rule which we require while writing any code or any programming. So it is must to follow some syntax. Punctuation is required over there, and without punctuation it will not complete the sentence, otherwise it will give you the syntax error. It is very common error when you're writing any code in any of the language. Syntax error, it is very common when you're writing any mistakes have been done, you will get a syntax error. Then machine language, a language that controls the computer on and off circuitry. You know that on and off. So it is basically a machine level language which we have seen yesterday only. The compiler interpreter, basically it translates the language, programming language into the machine language. So these two, compiler interpreter, working only for changing the language of your programming language into the computer language, the way computer understands the language. So compiler and interpreter are doing the same job. These are nothing but a kind of software. So basically there is a code has been written which basically automatically convert your programming language into the language which is understand by your computer. So these are something. So a program must be free from syntax, as I have told you, error to be run. So if there is some error will come, the program will not run. It will give you, it will not reach you the proper goal where you want, from where you need some output or some reports. It will not give you because it is showing some error or execution of a computer. The function properly, the logic must be correct. So whatever the logic you have written should be correct, otherwise it will not give you the proper answer, proper I can say the proper output whatever you want, because the logic must be correct. If you want to add two numbers, you have to use logic for addition. You cannot use subtraction or multiplication or something else, otherwise it will give you the different output. So whatever the output we want, on the basis of that we are thinking the logic and we are writing over there. Apart from that, if you're using some other or different logic, your desired output you will not get, or you cannot reach to the optimum solution which you want from your system. So what wrong with the logic for making a cake? So stir, add 2 eggs, add a gallon of gasoline, bake at 350 degree for 45 minutes, add 3 cups of flour. So you can see this is a kind of process of making a cake. So each and everywhere we require some process, we required some protocol. On the basis of that we are using to, just like making a cake, we require some process. On the basis of that we have written these 4 or 5 line of solution over here. The same way we need to write in a code, because if you want to add 2 numbers, so we need to add 2x over here, just like the same way we need to write a logic for like mathematical calculation or something else. So logic error or semantic error are more difficult to locate than syntax. So it is syntax error you will easily find out, because there is an error in your syntax itself, so you can easily find out. But logical error is something different. Without so sometimes you cannot find out where the logic is wrong. So for that you need to debug the code. We'll see how to debug the code, debugging and all those stuffs. So for that we need to debug the code. Debug in the sense to reach a particular location from where we are getting the error. Suppose there is a code of 1000 line and we are getting the issue, or we are getting the error on line number 750, but when you're going to see the entire 1000 line, you cannot get directly where you are getting a error. So for that you need to debug the code and you need to reach that particular location around line number 750 from where you getting the error. So this is called the where from you are getting a logical error. You reach over there, you need to rectify the code, and on the basis of that you need to you are getting some proper error. You can remove the error. So logic for multiplying a number 2 includes input processing and output statement. When you write a logic on a multiply of 2 numbers, like in calculator, suppose in a calculator there is some logic has been written in the chip itself, because there is a in the calculator itself there is a chip. In the chip there is software obviously they have used. So when you're multiplying suppose 10 into 10, So at the time of multiplying, when you input the number, first number you have input 10, and second number also you have put the 10. In between two tens you have used the symbol of multiplying. So 10 into 10 is 100, we know that. So for that, we need to write a logic in a program itself. So program, I mean to say, system understand about the 10 into 10 is equal to 100, because system don't know either, and unless and until we are not going to write the instructions for the system that you need to follow this way to reach your output, to get your output. So get input number, compute calculated answer as input number times 2, print calculated answer. So this is a kind of instructions we are going to give to the system, just like get input number. So initially, suppose you make some program and you have given in the input screen you have given two I can say two input boxes in which you need to write two numbers. So you have given 10 over here and 10 in another box. So 10 into 10, 100. So there is a 4 buttons available in the below, in which one button for multiply. So when you're going to click on the multiply, in the below side there is one output parameter you have written, which is calculating the results. So in the results you will get 10 into 10, 100. Automatically you will get 100 when you click on the button of multiply. So this is the kind of calculation you can do using some logic, using some inputs from the users. So there is a flow, there is some process which we need to follow to calculate this. So two storage categories, internal and external. So internal storage we have seen, yes, main memory, we have RAM located inside the computer system, and it is a volatile memory. Contents are lost when power goes down. So volatile in the sense whenever power you will switch off the machine, RAM will be empty because there is no data available. Volatile in the sense when power is shut down, your RAM is empty, so there is no data available in the RAM. Then external storage, which is persist, which is permanent. Contents are relatively permanent. Floppy drive, hard drive, flash media, magnetic tapes located outside the computer system, which is not inside, it's outside the computer system. So it is store the data permanently, and internal storage store the data temporary, which is called random access, that's why it is called volatile. When this system is off, it will I mean to say the data is automatically wash out. Understand the programming process. There is a 6 programming phase. Starting with understand the program. You need to understand the program. You need to, first of all, you need to understand the requirement. If you're not understand, this is a kind of, I can say, the software development life cycle. You need to understand the requirement. You need to understand the problem. Problem is nothing but a requirement. You need to understand the requirement. What the requirement has been asked by the user, for whom we are creating any report or programs. Then plan the logic. So for that particular requirement, how you plan the logic, what's the plan you are going to create, what's the logic you are going to build. So on the basis of that, you are going to create a plan, you are going to create a logic. If the company want that, then you can, just like I've given you the example of calculation of salary on the basis of how many days the employee has come into the office. So for that you need to think the logic, we need to plan the logic. Then on the basis of the logic, we need to make a code. Initially we need to make a pseudo code which has been given to the given for the requirement, and when you're actual writing a code, then you need to write a code on the basis of logic. What the logic you have been used, you have think on the basis of that you need to write a code. Then use software to translate the program into the machine. Then we are using just like compiler or interpreter, which is basically translate your code into the machine level language. Then after that you need to test your program. I have told you testing is also a different kind of, entirely different. There is a different kind of testing, which is initially the testing has been done by the developer itself, and after that it will go to the user acceptance testing. And if user has accept the testing, what the user has accept your I mean the software, they will do the testing and they will satisfy whatever the program or whatever the report you have created, then it will go to the live. Deploy the program into the production, which is nothing but production in the sense your live system. You need to deploy the program into the production. So these are some understanding the programming process, which we call in software development life cycle also. So this is some programming process over here. So understanding the programming process, we are continuing, maybe the most difficult piece, because if you not understand the programming process, so it is difficult, because you need to understand how to write a code, how to write a program. Then only you can, if you you understand the requirement, but you cannot if you cannot that requirement, you cannot make any proper way to write a code, then it is difficult for you. The user may not be able to articulate their needs as well. Sometimes user do not able to ask you, or with the help of user you cannot understand the requirement. So might be you require again and again to understand the requirement, because if you not understand the requirement from the user end, so it is difficult to make your analysis and designing and after development, because designing and analysis is very much important. On the basis of designing and analysis, you are writing a code. If you're not able to understand designing and analysis itself, then your code will become disaster. So you're not getting the correct output what the requirement has been raised by the user or customer. So it is very important to understand the requirement of the customer. If you do not understand the requirement of the customer, you cannot write a code. So user needs may be changing frequently. This is very common. The people who are working in the IT industry as a developer or as a tester, they know that this is very common problem, because user are not I can say stay or stick with the one changes. They may ask you continuously changing their requirement, because the requirement is continuously changing. Because the problem is, like today, suppose they have around 10 employee, might be tomorrow it will become a 20 or 30 employees. So on the basis of that, you need to do changes as per the requirement. So day by day requirement may be changed, and it will take you a long time to deploy your project or your product to end customer. So if your requirement is changing, then each and every time your design or your analysis is changed, because everything is dependent on the requirement. If the requirement is frequently changing, your analysis is frequently changing, and it will impact your design as well as on development. So this is very much important. Programmers may have to learn the user's functional job tasks. So programmers have to understand their business requirement. So sometimes a company will check a person who know the business requirement, business process. So sometimes they will sometimes they will ask the guy who has a business knowledge as well. So business knowledge in the sense, sometimes the person who know about the finance side, who know the actual, I can say the finance or actual accounting side, they will sometimes understand the requirement properly from the business of the business. So business, if you understand the requirement of the business, then it is very easy to convert those requirements into the code. So this is why a functional requirement is very much important. Failure to understand the problem is the major cause of most project failure. See, if you not understand the requirement, your project will be failed. So most of the time the project has failed in IT industry just because they cannot understand the requirement properly. If you understand the requirement properly, then definitely your project will not fail. Otherwise it will fail. So this is very much important to understand the requirement of your company, understand the requirement of your customer. If you're not able to understand the requirement of your customer, it will definitely and surely fail. So most of the time the project has failed in spite of putting a lot of money, just because they don't understand the requirement. And what they will do, they will scrap the project and they will again start anew. So overall, if you not understand the requirement of a customer, then it will cost only to the company. Because customer has told you each and everything, but the requirement has not understood by the designer or I can say the analyst. So it is difficult if they not understand the requirement, they will not pass on those requirements directly to the developer. So it is very much important. The mediator, which is called functional person, who's the business, they have to understand the requirement. If they not understand the requirement, they will not pass on those requirements directly to the developer. So it is very important to the business, to the functional, to understand the business. They have to understand the domain knowledge, which is called domain knowledge. If they don't have a domain knowledge, then also there is issue with the functional people, which is working as a mediator between the customer and the developer. Those who understand the requirement, making some designing, analysis, those they are doing very well. So it is very important to make the relationship, properly relationship between these people. So planning the logic, plan the steps that the program will take. So you need to think about what the steps we require to write a code, each and everything. What are the tools, what is the flow chart, how to write a pseudo code, each and everything you need to understand. Flow chart and pseudo code is very much important. The flow chart, it's a pictorial representation of the logic, step by step. Then we have a pseudo code, English-like representation of the logic. So each and everything you have to understand. The logic you need to understand, the English representation of the pseudocode. Walk through the logic before coding my desk checking the logic. So walk through the logic. You need to go through entire logic before coding. So logic is very much important. I told you, without logic you cannot proceed. First you think the logic into your mind, then you can proceed towards writing a code. Otherwise it will be difficult. If you're not able to understand the logic itself, then there is an issue. So logic is very much important, to understand the logic before writing the code. So the steps are very much important. So coding the program, select the programming language, which language you want. So you need to understand, user has given you the requirement, and sometimes they want, I need this code in the Java, this report in the Java, this program into the Java. Sometimes they want in the .NET. So you can also help them out to understand that this is difficult. It will may cost you more. If you're going to this language, it will cost you less, and requirement is the same, and whatever the requirement from your end, we will fulfill the requirement. There is no issue at all. So select the particular proper programming language, write the instructions on those language, either you are using C, C++, Java, .NET, whatever. So using software to translate the program into the machine language, you know that I have told you that there is two things, compiler and interpreter, which is basically doing this task. So that is also very much important. Programmers write instruction in English, like high level language. Basically programmers is nothing, they are writing only English language. The compiler interpreter changes the program into machine level language, and it can be executed, because these are the two, I can say, the hero of the film. These two heroes, compiler or interpreter, they are basically converting the programming language into the machine level language. Then the computer understand your language, then they are going to give you the output. So these are the two heroes of your project. Then syntax error are identified by the compiler, and then whatever the error will come, basically syntax error. If you've done some syntax error, like in grammatical error, which is called, so it will identified by the compiler or interpreter. Here itself you will find out the issue. So the compiler and interpreter is, I can say, the hero of the movie to move ahead the code. So understanding the programming process, here you can see, starting with the data that programming is used, then we are going to check over here, write the correct programming code. If you're not writing the correct programming code, it will give you the error. It will go to the compiler, it will compile the program, and it will go into execution. It will execute the program with the help of compiler, and you will get the program output. If there is no syntax error, it will go and properly execute the program. If there is a syntax error, it will it will show you the error message, and you need to rectify those syntax error. Then only you can again write your code, and again the same things, the same process you have to repeat. So data that the program is used, you need to put the data over there. So this is a kind of flow chart or programming, creating executable program, how a program is executing, and you will get the final result over here. So understand the programming process. Continued. Testing a program. See, testing is very much important. See, if you're not any testing, not even I'm asking about the software or any report testing, anything in testing, if you're making one mobile also, if you're not testing properly, and it will reach to the without testing, it will reach to the customer, so it will fail. Definitely it will fail, because testing, you have not done the testing. Even when you are buying a car or any two-wheeler, obviously you will do test drive. You ask the sales person is, or ask sales executive will ask for a test drive. Why the test drive is important? So you understand either your car is working properly or not. So that is very much important. So test drive is everywhere. So testing is everywhere. Either you're purchasing a car, either you're purchasing a two-wheeler, or either you're running any code or any program or any report or any product. So sometimes companies call them a product, just like different kind of product available in the market. The same thing, we recognize a software package is nothing but a product for that particular company to whom we are selling our software. So software is nothing but a kind of product. So execute it with sample data and check the results. So initially, if you don't have a data, but you need to execute with the help of some sample data, and you need to check the results, if your result is properly or not. On the basis of that, you can deploy your report. If you are not getting proper result, then it is difficult to deploy your product, because it is very much important while testing. You need to understand whatever you want, either you will get the desired result or not. If you're not getting desired result, then it is difficult. Identify logic errors and correct them. You need to identify either you're getting any logical error or not. If you're not getting any logical error, so you can if you're getting any not getting any logical error, then it is easy to deploy the task. Otherwise, you need to correct them. If any error is coming, either a syntax error or logical error, whatever the error is coming, you need to correct them. You need to check them what are the error is coming, so you can rectify those errors, either logical error or syntax error or runtime error. Whatever the error will come, you need to rectify error, then only you can proceed further. Choose test data carefully to exercise all branches of the logic. So you need to choose data very precisely, very carefully, because whatever sometimes there is a different kind of data available. Whatever the data you have choose for I mean to say execute the program or testing the program, might be that test data has not been used by the user. So there is a different test data available. So you need to be sure whatever the data you have used, the same data has been used by the your user also. Or you can ask your user, who is final user, end user, they can get the result, they will give you the test data, and on those test data you can also do the testing. So putting the program into the production, every testing has been done, your testing has been, I mean to say developer testing has been done, then the testing team has done the testing, they have done the test, they have test the software, then it will go directly to the user. User has done the testing, user has satisfied with the product, that what the product they have asked for, it they're getting those products. So you can directly deploy the product into the production system, and in the production system itself there is a testing. So that testing has been done by the user itself, or their team, or their I can say executives, those basically using the software. They will do the testing, and if they satisfy all, the satisfaction will come. They will send you the mail that whatever the requirement we have raised, we got that requirement fully, and we are fully satisfied. Then you can deploy the product and you can close the call. So putting the program into the production, how you put the program, do this after testing is complete and all no error have been corrected. So whatever the testing required you have done, there is no error is coming, then only you can move it to the production. May require coordination with other related activities or software. So you may require I can say coordination is very much important because you are deploying that data into the production, your live server. So it is very important when you are deploying the data into the live server, you have to take care of these things, otherwise it will give you the issue. So before moving data into the production, you need to thoroughly testing each and every area of the I can say the report and any software. So these are something about the testing of the program and deploying the report or program into the production. So understanding the data hierarchy, ordering of data by size. Sometimes we require a size. With the help of that, you are writing a data. So single symbol, just like letter, number, or some special symbol like A7 and dollar. This is some special symbol. Filled group of character forming a single data item. Smith group of character, just like Smith is a filled. It is called filled. It is a group of character which is forming the single data item. Then we have a record, a group of related fields, just like customer record and accounting record, employee record, or any student record, like a group of record, whatever the record you want according to the record. File, a group of related record which is called file. We call it file. A group of related record, customer file containing all customer records. In the banking system, we have a account file where all the accounts have saving account. We have a current account. On the basis of that, we can bifurcate the data. So they are maintaining those records into the file. Then we have a database. Database is nothing but a collection of related files called tables that serve in the information needed in the organization. So database, in every organization there is a database. Either it is organization belong to any different industries. Just like if you have an industry like FMCG, so might be they have a database of their different products. If industry going to the banking, they have a database for their customer, database for their account. Industry wise might be different location wise, geographical area wise. So they have a make their database as per their requirement, and they can easily the way they have maintained the database, so then they can easily access those data at the time of they require. So these are something which understand the data hierarchy. So understand the data hierarchy just like database, file, record, field, character. So at the top we have a database because database has larger amount of data, one of the biggest data will have in the database. Then second number is file, in which we have around more and more. After database there is more data available in the file. Then we have a record in which we have a more and more data after the file. Then we have a field in which it will contain some character, some sentence, some word like that, and the character is a single character in which only single data is available. So these are some hierarchy from, I can say, ascending order, in which we have a database is large one and character is a smaller one. So using flowchart symbols and pseudocode statements, flowchart, pictorial representation of logic. So flowchart is nothing but your pictorial representation of a logic, whatever you want. Pseudocode, English-like representation of a logic. Example. So pseudocode like this. We are writing pseudocode: start, get input number, compute, calculate answer as input number times 2, print, calculator, and stop. So this from year to year, this is a pseudocode. We have written the statement over here. We have not written the code, but we have written the statement over here. The way we write a code, the same way we have written the statement in simple English language. This is called a pseudocode. We cannot write any code over here, but we have written only the way we are writing the code. So we have written over here. This is the example of pseudocode. So this is like an English representation of the logic. So this is the logic we have written, but in a simple English in English term. We have not used any code over here. We have not written any data types or data declaration. What we have not done over here, we have using flowchart. We have using not anything. So this is kind of pseudocode which is required at the time of designing or analysis of the code. We have to put this in our analysis. What the way we are writing the code, so we need to write a pseudocode over there. So using flowchart symbols and pseudocode statement. So you can see the input symbol, get input number over here. Get input number is the kind of pseudocode we have written. Flowchart, then again processing symbols, compute calculated answer while inputting the number in 2 times. So this is we have written over here, processing symbols. Then output symbols, whatever the output we get, just like if we process 2 numbers for multiplying, so we are whatever the output we are going to get over here, we need to print that output, so we can print also. Then we have flow lines over here, connect the steps. What is the steps are there? We need to connect those steps. Flow show the sequence of a statement. So we required a sequence of a statement. So sequence is very much important. Have arrows to show the direction. So each and every time when you writing any flow, of any program, when you flow chart. So obviously we are using we have seen while in the process of execution of a code, we have seen we are writing the flow chart. So in the flow chart we are using arrow to show the direction. After this step, in which step we need to go. So those we can handle with the help of direction, and those direction can be followed with the help of arrows. Then terminal symbol, start, stop symbol, show the start and end point of the statement and losing shape. So you can see there is a start and stop symbol which basically use over there. So with the help of that you can understand here is we need to start and here we need to stop. So this is kind of start and stop symbol. So you can see the start and stop, a kind of flow chart and pseudocode of a program. You can see the start. First you need to start, then you need to get the number. You need to compute calculated answer in when you input 2 numbers, output and stop. So these are some flow chart of calculation of 2 numbers. So you can see the two, when we want to calculate of 2 numbers, this is the flow chart. From there we need to start and stop, and on the basis of the requirement, just like we need to put 2 numbers for adding or multiplying 2 numbers, first we need to add 2 numbers. So we are getting get input numbers, compute calculated answer, input numbers times 2, print calculated answer and stop. So these are some flow chart of pseudocode program that doubles a number, you can see over here. So this is the flow chart of a symbol, whatever the requirement you have, whatever the way you want, this is the flow chart basically of a pseudocode. So back pointing arrows shows a statement that will be repeated. So again you want to, so this is again you want to do, then again it is a back pointing arrow which is called. So back pointing arrow, initially you have given a 2 number, now you want to change the number. So again the start, again suppose initially you have given the 2 number 10 and 10, after that you need give 9 and 9. So like that, if you want to, the same thing you want to repeat again and again, so this is the back pointing arrow which is going back, and again you need to start over there. So variables. So variable, a memory location whose contents can be vary, also called identifier. So it depends on what number you want, what the size of the memory, on the basis of that you create a variable. Variable basically is nothing but your space in the memory which is basically identified by identifier. So there is a memory location whose contents can be vary, also called identifier. So variable we are putting the variable over there. We put the variable will calculate basically calculate the number and put over here. So each programming language has its own rules for naming identifier. Each programming language has its own rules for naming identifier, including legal character, maximum length, use of upper and lower case. So each programming language has its own rules for naming identifier. So every programming language has their own naming identifier. With the help of that, they recognize they have some legal character, they have some maximum length. So this is the maximum length. You cannot go beyond this maximum length. Use of upper and lower case, you need to use some upper and lower case, otherwise it will not run properly. So whatever the upper and lower case, on the basis of that it will run. Variable name must be single word but cannot be formed from several words. So you can see the variable name rate, interest rate, it is a single word, interest underscore rate. So you cannot use multiple. There is also in some languages, I'm not asking about, in some language you need to also, you cannot increase the variable length also, just like there is some 7 or 8 character you can use, otherwise it will give you the error. So that is also a rule for some of the language, in which you need to restrict the variable also, you need to restrict the character of the variable, otherwise it will throw you the error. So that is also very much important, how you show the variable in different languages. So some languages will support uh, larger length of variables, and some not a larger, some smaller. So there is a limitations for each and every variable. Using and naming variables continue. So choose meaningful names for variables. Improve the readability and maintainability of a code. Just like table 1, valid and invalid variables names for an employee last name. Suggest variable names for employee last name, like employee name, employee name is comments good, employee uh, employee last good. Most people would interpret last as meaning of last name, correct? Then employee last good, employee is short for employee. So this is our employee, how you are going to check. So employee ST name, which is legal by encrypting, last name of the employee of in question but awkward last name, employee last name. So you need to understand which you want, valid and invalid variables, name for an employee name. So you need to understand what exactly you want, according to that you make a variable name. So whatever you want, according to that you are making a variable name. So there is a restrictions also. I have, just as I have told you, in some of the language you cannot go beyond this much of length for any variable, otherwise it will give you the error. Maximum 8 characters in some of the language, in which it will accept the 8 character only. More than 8 character it will not accept, it will give you the error. So that is also important, we'll see over here. So infinite loop, it will going into the loop. Infinite loop is a sequence of a statement that repeats forever with no escape. So there is no escape. It will go inside a loop and loop. It will it will going again and again. So if you want to just like write any name inside an infinite loop, it will writing that particular name again and again and again. So avoid infinite loops by testing of a predetermined value names. Means stop processing. That means stop. So you cannot use everything inside a infinite loop, otherwise it will repeat those names again and again. So basically we need to stop processing for that. Decision testing a value. Flowchart decision symbols a diamond shape with 2 flow lines. One is yes and one is for no. So you know decision is like a diamond. Testing of value in a diamond shape, in which one is for yes and one is for no. If you want to just like which way you want to go in a flow chart, it will depend yes or no on the basis of the flow chart. You can see this is the decision. Input number 0, yes to stop, and no to go further, like that. So here you are going to start, get number, input number is 0. Either you want to go ahead or not. If you want, input number is 0. If you want to stop, you can go here, stop, otherwise you can continue. So depends on if you want to continue or you want to stop. It depends on this is, so this is why this is called a diamond. So this is diamond for yes here, and for no continue. Sentinel value, which is called dummy value, does not represent the real data. It is a dummy data. As we know, it is not a real data signal. It is basically want to stop the signal, so that's why. Can be used with input from files or from user. It depends from where you want to use. Either you want to use from files or from user, and depends on that. Can be used for input from files or user, whatever. The dummy value is nothing but from where you want to use, depends on. End of file marker, code is stored in the file that marks the end of the data. So when you mark the end of the data, which is stored in the file itself, usually used instead of sentinel value for file inputs. Sometimes we are using dummy value to input in the file. So whatever you want, you can input dummy value into the file, and on the basis of that you get a result. You can see EOF end of file. Here you are putting some dummy value. If you want to stop, you can stop, otherwise you can continue. EOF end of file. Flowchart connector symbol. You can see the flowchart. There is this connector symbol. Mark a logic transfer to another location in a flowchart. So from one location to another location, you want to move. Then you are using some connector symbol, which is connecting the your two different location. Transfer location can be the same page or another page. It depends. Either you want to continue in the same page or you want to go for another page. So then one page symbol, a circle with a number of letters to identify the matching transfer location. A circle with a number of number. It is a circle with a number of number, which is called, tell you one page symbol. Off page symbol, a square with the pointed button containing page number and the number of letter to identify the matching transfer location where you want to go. We'll see the in the next. You can see. So start over here, step 1, step 2, step 3. This is showing the page 1. From page 1, step 4, step 5, step 6, page 2. So depends in which page you want. So page 1 and page 2. So this is starting in the page 1 and from 4th step onwards in the page 2. Assigning values to a variable, assignment statement. Assign a value to a variable. You can assign a value to a particular variable. Variable must be appear on the left side value, on the right side of the assignment operator. So must be appear in the left side. Whatever the variable is there, it should be in the, must be appear in the left side value. On the right side, some assignment operator. Right side may be expression that will be evaluated before storing the value into the variable. So right side expression. So there is a two thing. Left side is when you writing any variable. So I'm writing like this. Left where variable must be appear in the left side. Just like I want to assign 5 into some variable called length, L-E-N-T-H, length. I have taken some variables, 5 I have written over here. So 5 I am assigning to the left. So variable always you need to write a left side and the value always in the right side. Expression that you evaluated before storing the value into the variable. Assignment operator, you always need to use equal to. Equal to in the sense 5 you are assigning into your variable. Then variable memory location, it has an address and a value, address of a value and a value. Value is used for a various operation. That value you can use for the various operations. So always remember, when you assigning any value to the variable, so value always be in a right side and variable is always in a left side, and there is must be a single sign assignment, which is equal sign. So that's why 5 will like assign to the that particular variable. Two basic data types, which is called text and numeric. Very basic data type. Numeric data is stored in numerical variable, just like saying numeric data is stored for numerical values. Text data is stored for text, some characters, variables. Constant values that do not change, and while the program is running, it is always constant because it is not changing in entire program. Have identifier and can be used like variables for calculation, but cannot be assigned to a new value. It can be used for a calculation, but you cannot assign to a new value. It is called calculate. So constant, always be a constant in entire flow of the program. It will not vary. It will not work as a variable. So variable which may vary. Variable in the sense which is varying, but constant is always constant in throughout the program. Understanding data types. So some programming language implement several numerical data types such as integer. Integer is nothing but a whole number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is whole number, is called integer. Floating number in the fractional numerical values with decimal point, just like 1.11, 1.12, this is called floating. Character or string data is represented as characters enclosed in a quotation mark, just like color. It is a character. X is a character which is encoding with the quotation. You can see the quotation we have taken. X and color is a character. Data type must be used appropriately. Without data types, you cannot assign any value to a particular variable. So when you're using some variable, you need to declare that variable in which data type and how much length of that particular variable. So understanding data type, assuming last name and first name are character variables, assume quiz score and homework score are numerical variables. So last name is a Parker and last name is a Parker. If Parker is last name, if required quotes, if Parker is name is string variable, then assign would be allowed. So if a character, then you need to assign, you have to store like this. If it is a string, then you can use like this. First name is Laura, then Parker is the last name. When last name is equal to first name, it is assigning over here. Parker is assigning to the last name. Here assigning is like that. Then quiz score is always a numeric variable, so it is showing over here. 86 assigning to the quiz score. So here homework score is also a numeric value. It is assigning to over here. So homework score is always be the, because it is not matched, because first name is always a character, but home score is always be a numerical value. So it will give you the error, because first name is a character value, but we need to take only numerical value for home score. So it will assign 92, assign over here. Home's worker quiz score, it can be assigned because quiz score is 86. So this is the way you can use your data type. So understanding the evolution of programming technique, programming began in 40s using memory address and machine code directly. High level language were developed to allow English like instruction. I have told you today we are using the English like instructions. Older programs were monolithic and ran from beginning to end. So it is monolithic and running from beginning to end in a once. New program contains modules that can be combined to form programs. Newer programs contain a module. Different modules are there in which we put the module in the form that can be combined to form programs. Two major programming techniques, which is called procedural programming and object-oriented programming. There is a two programming technique. Procedural programming is obsolete. Very few languages are following the procedural nowadays. Object-oriented programming we are using nowadays. Procedural programming focus on the procedure that program create, follow the procedure. Object-oriented focus on the object that represent the real world thing and their attributes and behaviors. Both techniques employ reusable programming mode. So it can be reusable, but nowadays object-oriented is more famous and more have been used in the market. The four major computer operation, which is input, processing, output and storage, we have seen these. 6 programming phases: understand the problem, plan the logic, code the program, translate the program to machine language, test the program and deploy the program. We have seen this 6 programming phase, which is called software development life cycle. Then data hierarchy, we have seen character, field, record, file and database. Flowchart, we have seen pictorial representation of the programming logic, variables, name, memory, location contains values. We have seen all these stuff. Oh, it is almost about to finish. Then we have a testing of value, involves making a decision, how to make a decision. We are testing. Assignment statement, store a value into the variable. Always use equal to sign in the assignment statement. Two major data types, which is text and numeric. Procedural programming focus on action performed on the data, and object oriented or mainly focus on the objects, functions, modules, these manipulation and all. So here we have completed out programming logic and design today, and we are you need to go through once programming logic and design, because it is very much important how you work on the programming logic and design, and you understand each and everything I have gone through regarding the how to write a logic, flow chart, object oriented programming and procedural programming, the difference and all those stuff. And I have gone through the 6 steps for the programming, how you write a program, which is called SDLC. In the next